worse. There are worse worlds. But Buddhism would say that being a god, what they consider God, like a pleasure being, or I don't know what the good translation, they call them asuras. Asuras, and they're kind of like pleasure. There's like demigods and gods. The gods kind of have they live like, I don't know, Beverly Hills 90210, no. They're like the super rich. I don't know what would be the equivalent. Somebody going to Harvard and Yale and coming from Ketty Bunkport, or they're like the super. They're like their life is perfect. They're even better than humans that have a great life. But they're like they live an extended long life, and only at the end do they see their death coming, and then they get old real fast. And it's kind of like a metaphor for human existence. Like when you start to get older, nobody really, you start to look like crap. You start to feel like crap. Even gods. What the problem with the God realm in Buddhism is that they're having so much fun that they don't have any thought of religious practice whatsoever. And you can liken it to people who live in the fast lane, a very affluent life. Somebody who hasn't seen much suffering in their life, they can really relate to religious practice. Generally, a person who's seen suffering firsthand, relatives die, some kind of illness, are attracted immediately to, they get the point. But a person who's had a perfect life, like the gods, they live an extended perfect life, they have no motivation to even study Buddhism. So they say here, when you have pure renunciation, you don't have no longer the desire for this life or the desire for future higher births. You want out. You want to never come back to any life like this whatsoever. With suffering. Any kind of life with suffering. Renunciation, though, can never bring the total bliss of matchless Buddhahood unless it is bound by the purest wish, and so the wise seek the high wish for enlightenment. Renunciation, the healthy disgust for this life, is one way of, if you have that renunciation, you can eventually achieve nirvana, which is not the punk band or pop punk band from the early 90s. It is the permanent ending of all your mental afflictions, never being able to suffer in your mind again. That's one thought of nirvana. Now, if you have this healthy disgust for this life and wanting to reach enlightenment, and you extend that to all other beings, then you have bodhicitta. So bodhicitta, or jangsa, is just an extension. In this renunciation, you want to achieve enlightenment because you see all the various sufferings of this life. Now you just extend that wanting to achieve enlightenment. If you realize you are suffering so bad, that everything in this life that seems like pleasure turns to pain. The fact that you're come into this life and you see these sufferings around you like AIDS, cancer, people falling apart, people getting old, just that kind of suffering. And the pervasive suffering of the parts that you get with this life. Like that the fact that these parts come together like that, they must fall apart. The various parts of you, or even in being born into this type of realm, suffering. Then you extend that to other people, and you have a kind of compassion that, my God, if I'm suffering, Jesus, no wonder a lot of people, are miserable, Not so much out in Arizona. Like, I'm from Jersey, and and I live in Brooklyn for a lot of people are a lot more miserable. People are really nicer out here. It freaks me out when people are so that nice. Like, I'm from New York and Jersey, so I'm like, what the hell is what drugs are the people on out here? Maybe it's the constant clouds you get for half the year, on the East Coast, but underlying all that, everything every kind of position you get in your life will be taken away. Every kind of skill will go away. Hopefully you can keep it. If you have good karma, you can keep a mind. You can keep a body that's functioning till the day you die. Maybe keep a relationship up to the day. But sadly, that thing will be taken, those things will be taken away from you. That's the suffering of change in this life. And then there's the 8 worldly thoughts they're talking about here, which are like, mainly me, like, will people talk good about me? I'm happy when people talk good about me. I don't feel good when people talk bad about me. stuff like that. All about me. We always worry about the 8 worldly thoughts. It's just worrying about this world and what people say about you. And it's all born of your self-cherishing mind. And that's a whole other topic of conversation. It is the mind, based upon that fundamental ignorance, that sees yourself as the center of the universe. Before Galileo Galilei came along and told the religious authorities of his day that no, sorry, the Earth isn't the center of the universe. We really are the center of our own universe, and we really think that we deserve everything more than anybody. Deep down inside, when you get at that, and Buddhism aims to kill that demon, that self-cherishing mind. Western psychologists would call it ego. They're swept along on 4 fierce currents, chained up tight, past deeds hard to undo, stuffed in a steel cage of grasping to a self, smothered in pitch-black ignorance. Tsongkhapa is getting a little, painting a portrait here of the 4 beings in this type of realm. 4 fierce currents. In the causal way is desire, wrong view, karma, and ignorance. Those are the causes of the being suffering in samsara. In a resultant way, what do these ignorant desire, wrong views, ignorance, what do they cause? They cause birth, age, sickness, and death. In the result of those 4 sphere currents, the result of those are the sufferings, the various sufferings of being. Chained up tight in that means karma. Stuffed in a steel cage is the tendency to grasp at a self. You really do hold that somewhere amongst these various parts of you, there is a me. Like for me, it would be Venerable Lobsang Nyima or David Joseph Sykes. There really is somewhere amongst the parts of me, there is this me. And it's this grasping that causes all of human beings suffering. We won't get into the emptiness as of yet, but in a limitless round they're born, and in their births are tortured by 3 sufferings without a break. Think how your mothers feel. Think of what's happening to them and try to develop the highest wish. We just talked about the 3 sufferings a little bit, the suffering of change, the suffering of having parts, this type of reality suffering, and then just suffering by definition, the various, cancer, AIDS, all the horrible things that happen in this life. There are 2 methods for trying to achieve bodhicitta or jansam, the kind of mind that wants to get enlightenment, to help be of some kind of help for other beings. Because right now, how you are, you're suffering and you can't really be of any benefit to beings. Only if you're omniscient, which means you know everything. Not a PhD, not that way. Religiously a PhD, in a saint kind of like way. And then you can be some kind of, you can teach other people to get out of their own suffering. That's the whole purpose of a Buddha. There's the 7-step cause and effect method, which is essentially realizing that everybody in this room and everybody that you've ever met in your life has been your mother many times. To do this meditation, you have to accept the possibility of previous lives and future lives and all that. There's absolutely no way that I could prove to you that previous lives and future lives happen right now. But Master Dharmakirti in the Pramanavartika, the famous statement, says that gross physical matter, which is this stuff, is not a suitable material cause for consciousness. The only suitable material cause for consciousness, or main cause for consciousness, is consciousness. Master Dharmakirti would say that the cause of your consciousness sitting here listening to a teaching was the consciousness up in the front